There was once a man, Hunanoop by name, a commoner from the village of Sekhet Hamat, and he had a wife, to whom he said, I am going down to Egypt to bring back bread for our children. Go in and measure the grain that we still have in our storehouse, every bushel. Then she measured for him 8 bushels of grain. Then Hunanoop had her make for him bread and beer for the journey, so that enough would be left over for bread for her and the children. Then this peasant loaded his asses with all the good produce of Sekhet Hamat, and went down to Egypt. He set out and journeyed southward to Heracleopolis, and found there a man standing on the bank, Nimti-Nacht by name, who was the son of a man called Iseri, who was one of the most favored servants of the chief steward Rensi, son of Meru. Then this Nimti-Nacht, when he saw the asses of this peasant, greatly desired them, and said to himself, Oh, that some good god would help me to rob this peasant of his goods. The house of Nimti-Nacht stood close to the side of the road. On one side of it was the river, and on the other side was growing grain. Then Nimti-Nacht devised a plan of cunning. He took a large fabric made of very fine material, and laid it out over the road, so that it covered the road entirely. Hunanoop came along the path, and Nimti-Nacht said to him, Look out, commoner, do not trample on what is mine. Hunanoop did as he wished, and began walking around the fabric. As he was turning to the upper side and began trotting on the grain, Nimti-Nacht said to him, Do my fields serve you as a road? Hunanoop replied to him that this was the only way to go, and that the bank was steep, and that the only path for him was through the grain. Upon that one of Hunanoop's asses took a mouthful of grain from the ground. Then said Nimti-Nacht, Now I will take away your ass, because he has eaten my grain. Then Hunanoop said, But I know the lord of this property. It belongs to the chief steward, Rensi. It is he who punishes every robber in this whole land. Shall I then be robbed by you in his domain? Then Nimti-Nacht said, Is it not a proverb which the people employ, that the name of the commoner is known only on account of his lord? It is I who addresses you, not the chief steward of whom you speak. Then Nimti-Nacht took out a rod and beat all of Hunanoop's limbs with it, then seized his asses and drove them into his compound. Thereupon Hunanoop wept loudly on account of the pain of what had been done to him, and Nimti-Nacht said to him, Do not cry so loud, peasant, or else I shall send you to the city of the dead. 4 days passed, during which Hunanoop besought Nimti-Nacht. But when this came to nothing, on the 5th day he went down into the city, Heracleopolis, to implore the chief steward Rensi. Hunanoop saw him when he was coming out of the canal door in his compound to embark on his boat. Thereupon the commoner said to him, Oh, please wait, and let me lay before you this affair. Permit one of your trusted servants to come to me, that I may send him to you concerning it. Then the steward sent one of his servants to Hunanoop, and he sent him back an account of the whole affair. Then the steward called his most trusted attendants to him, and they said to him, Lord, this is a simple case of a commoner, who is your servant, having done wrong to another commoner by tricking him and taking his goods. And we know that it is customary with commoners to conduct themselves thus towards one another. It is no matter. Do not punish Nimti-Nacht for what he has done, for he is your servant, and he will do as you say. Simply command him to restore the property, and he will do so. But the chief steward, Rensi, remained silent, and he answered neither the officials nor the commoner. Hunanoop then came to entreat Rensi in person, and said, Chief steward, my lord, you are greatest of the great. You are guide of all which is not and which is. When you embark upon the sea of truth, may no misfortune happen to your mast, and shall your oars not be broken, and shall you not be stranded. And if you run fast aground, may great waves not break upon you, and may you not behold the face of fear. The shy fish shall come to you, and you shall capture fat birds. You are father of the orphan, the husband of the widow, the brother of the desolate, the garment of the motherless. Let me place your name higher in this land than all the good laws. Throw this evil to the ground, and hear me when I speak. Do justice, and remove my oppression, for I am in great sorrow. Then the chief steward, Rensi, son of Meru, pleased with the eloquence of the peasant that had come into his presence, pondered the matter a long time, putting it off even when Hunanoop had come to entreat him a second time, and a third, and even a fourth. 8 addresses in total the peasant made to Rensi, son of Meru, but when Hunanoop had come to implore him for a 9th time, he said, "Chief steward, my lord, man falls on account of avarice. Greed is absent from a good man, and I can see that your heart is a greedy one. It does not become you, and it is not praiseworthy for you. I, though I have received injustice by the son of your servant Iseru, nevertheless return to report to you my difficulties. I am not afraid to present them to you. You who are in such a position of high esteem ought to keep yourself far removed from injustices, and be virtuous. You must know that truth is with one for eternity. She goes with him who performs her to the realm of the dead. He will be laid in his coffin and committed to the earth, and his name will not perish from the earth. But men will remember him on account of the truth that he performed, and this memory will be his final property." So runs the right interpretation of the divine word. Listen to my words, then. You have not been killed. You have not been made sick. You have not fled. You have not departed. And yet you have not granted me any reply to this beautiful word which comes from the mouth of Ra himself. Speak the truth, and do the truth. For it is great, it is mighty, and it is everlasting. It will obtain for you merit, and will lead you to veneration. Then Rensi sent 2 servants to bring Hunanoop before him, and Hunanoop feared that he would suffer, as punishment imposed upon him for what he had said, and began entreating Rensi for mercy. But Rensi answered, "Fear not, commoner. I shall have your family brought here. I shall see that you remain with me, eating my bread and drinking from my cup forever." Then Rensi caused his servants to bring, written on a brand new papyrus scroll, all that had happened in the recent days. Then Rensi sent the papyrus to his majesty the Pharaoh, High King of Upper and Lower Egypt, Neb-Kau-Re the Blessed, and they were most agreeable to the heart of his majesty. Then his majesty wrote back to Rensi, bidding him to pass judgment in any way that he saw fit. Then the chief steward, Rensi, caused 2 of his servants to go and bring a list of the household of Nemti-Noct from the government office, and his house, his 6 slaves, and a choice of his best barley, spelt, asses, and swine were taken by the chief steward Rensi, son of Meru, and given to Hunanoop the commoner for his eloquence, who now went to his new home rejoicing.